So today we're going to start our January series. And unfortunately, Unity Worldwide Ministries decided not to do themes this year. They would always do themes every year, and for whatever reason, they opted not to. And I happened to see the Center for Spiritual Living's theme, which was for this year, and it's all about living everyday wonder. And that really caught me because I've often talked about, and even talked about during December, how the holidays are so full of that magic and the miracle and the wonder, and then they pass and you're kind of like, oh, deflated, right? Does anybody feel like that, where you're sort of like, oh, the holidays are over and they were so wonderful, and you miss the lights and all the decorations and what have you? Well, what if we moved into this month and maybe even this year with that in mind? How do we continue to capture and feel and be in the spirit of wonder? And so part of what we're going to explore this January is about opening up to that. How do we see God in the mundane, in everyday living? And how are we and can we be in a space of seeing and being magnificence? So I want to begin today with the wonder that is each and every one of you. The messages that Spirit gives you remind you of that wondrous nature that you are and how to claim it. And so today we're going to go through a little bit of a ceremony to be able to remind ourselves of that. But today is also a perfect segue for the remembering of this wondrous nature. We just finished up on January 6th, Three Kings Day. Does anyone know about Three Kings Day? A little bit? So I'm going to just share just quickly, because we're not necessarily used to celebrating Three Kings Day here in this country. So most people don't really know what it's about. But since I come from a Latin American background, that was something that was pretty standard. So Three Kings Day is actually celebrated all over Latin America. It's celebrated also in Europe and other parts of the world. See, here in the United States, Christmas happens and sort of like the holidays kind of are over. I mean, you celebrate New Year's, but that's sort of a separate thing. But for other places in the world, Christmas begins the holiday season. You have the 12 days of Christmas, and then the final day really is that 12th day, which is January 6th, also known as Dia de los Reyes in Latin America, Three Kings Day, or sometimes known as the Epiphany as well. And so that day is really about sort of sealing the deal, remembering Jesus's birth, honoring Jesus's birth, and also the journey of the three wise men or the three magi. And so today I kind of want to have us think about that just a little bit as we bridge that into the White Stone ceremony. When people celebrate Three Kings Day, like when my daughter was young, and it's traditional, you put out shoes the night before. I mean, so Santa is here in this United States, but the three kings are kind of really the pinnacle of where the gifts come from in other places in the world. So I'd put my daughter her shoes out, and so that's traditional. You come and you get coins and other presents around your shoes. And there's also something that's very traditional that you eat on Three Kings Day, and it's called a king's cake, or in Spanish, a rosca. And it's in the shape of a crown to remind us of the idea of Jesus as king, right? And also it has little dried fruits that represent sort of the jewels of a crown. And I got a treat for you all. I brought some back from Chicago, and you'll be able to sample them as you walk out. But those are kind of some of the traditions. And I'll mention to you as well that in that rosca, there are some little plastic baby Jesuses. I know that sounds weird, but there are little plastic baby Jesuses in there. And the tradition goes that the person that gets their baby Jesus in their rosca piece is the one that has to be hosting a party on February 2nd. So just saying, if you get the baby Jesus, you got to host a party. So we'll see who gets it. Let us know if you get it in your rosca as you leave out. But let's backtrack a little bit. So we can talk, I know we've passed Christmas and we're kind of beyond all of that, but let's remember a little bit about what this journey of the Magi was about. There were three wise men, three Magi that were coming from the east that we know traveled far and wide, looking through the ethers at this star that they're following, right? And they're coming to eventually find what is at the end of that star, and they find that it is baby Jesus. And they come then knowing that something special is happening. And they come there with gifts of frankincense, gold, and myrrh. And they come there to pay their respects and to also honor the baby Jesus. But part of the journey, or the bigger part of the journey, is what it represents for us. Let's think about that. All of this that's happening in this time, even just with the Magi, it's about trusting your instincts. You see this bright star and you're like, makes no sense. I don't know where it's going. I'm not sure what's going to end, but there I travel. It's trusting the instincts, trusting and following that inner guide, committing to the journey and prevailing. But also it's about giving and receiving gifts, right? The Magi and those that were part of the birth of Jesus, as the story goes, received the gift of this wonder and this awe of this baby that was the hope and the possibility of a culture and of a whole race. But it's also the gifts that we're given, things that we can give as human beings to the world to be able to have this expression of the Christ moving and living and breathing. Charles Fillmore said this of the wise men in their journey. He said, the wise men from the east symbolize the stored up resources of the soul, which rise to the surface when the soul is stirred by a great spiritual revelation. In scriptural symbology, east always means the within. The coming of the wise men signifies that from the regions of the interior wisdom come thoughts of reverence for the holy life that has begun its growth in consciousness. But what does that mean for us? That means that we are all on this Bethlehem journey. We are all in the process of seeing and being the star of Bethlehem. And that we're in this time where we have that holy stirring. We have that something that comes to consciousness within us. Those ideas, it's that divine wisdom that is guiding us. So today we kind of want to be able to acknowledge it and maybe harness that a little bit. Like the three Magi, our journey is to seek our treasure. We are seeking our treasure that has been given to us by divine birthright. And the treasure that you seek is so close. It's closer than you can imagine because it's within, it's in the heart, it's in the core of your being, and it's in your awareness right here and right now. It's that second unity principle that we have. The spark of the divine is within each and every one of us. So as we begin this new year and this new year journey, I ask you, what is the treasure that is within you? How would your life change today, right now, if you lived from that understanding and that affirmation that you too are the Bethlehem star? How would that change how you engage in the world and in life? So the new year right now is about reflecting on our lives, right? You know, everyone does their resolutions and what have you. But it's about reflecting on our lives and how to make commitments to change the things that just aren't working in our lives anymore, and to aspire to the things that we know or we think might benefit us. And so we take all of this newness in this year. It's about opening up the possibilities, opening up our minds and our hearts to be able to have that divine inspiration, new beginnings, new dreams. And so sometimes, though, we go looking for things, don't we? We get these ideas, but we go looking outside of ourselves for things that we think are going to fulfill us. And that's part of our challenge, is to be conscious about the things that we grasp onto, whether they be people or circumstances that are outside of ourselves, that are maybe fulfilling, but they're not soul satisfying. There is a difference. I can't tell you what those things are, but I guarantee you if you listen, Spirit will tell you. So we tend to do that, where we're looking outside of ourselves for validation, for worth, for meaning in our lives. But we begin, that is the premise of Unity's principles. We begin from within. We begin knowing that what we have within and the way we think about the world changes the reality around us. So we look from within to find worth, and we look from within from our own divine identity and nature. So the White Stone celebration that we're going to do today is an oldie but a goodie from Unity. Has anyone done a White Stone ceremony before? Okay, just a couple of you. So I get to do all these things. I'm like, oh yeah, nobody's done these things. Oh my gosh. So it's an oldie but a goodie. And I think that it's so awesome that the White Stone is usually done at New Year, in the New Year. But it's also in the time of Three Kings, and there's so much about the same kind of thing, the energy that we're trying to express and generate. It's about the magic and wonder of self. It's that treasure that's within you that we're trying to spark up and have come forward and come out. So we're going to turn our attention today to having, in some ways, maybe a change of heart, to creating a space to listen, to hear Spirit speak to us. Some of us have that experience where we were like, yep, Spirit spoke. Like I believe Spirit spoke. Myrtle Fillmore spoke to me through that song. But that wasn't always the case for me. We build up that ability so that we can hear things, see things, feel things as we start to have that faith and trust that there is internal wisdom that we're connected to every moment of every day. So today we're going to be listening to what is calling us, listening and giving us a new sense of who we truly are, what it means to be and give life in this new year. So as you came in, you were given a baggie. Now, those of you who are at home, you don't have the baggie. Does anyone not have this little bag? If not, you can see someone in the Malcolm Center there. But if you don't, all you need is just something to write with and something to write on. If you find something that is representative to you, something spiritual, a shell, or something that you can write on or whatever, that's fine, but a piece of paper will do as well. Those of you who are in the area and want to still get your stone, if you're not here, you can get your stone from the office in the days to come. So in your baggie, you have a stone, you have a pencil, and you have maybe a little card that gives you some explanation. These stones come from Jerusalem. They come from the Holy Land, and so they are quarried in Jerusalem. And so maybe you believe they have some energetic presence, maybe you don't, but all the while, this is the truth of where they come from. The white stone in the time of Jesus was actually given to people. It was given to prisoners. When they were released from prison, you were given a white stone to symbolize your freedom and to prove that you had indeed been released. You had paid your debt. And so as long as you had this white stone, you're assured that you are free. And this person held that to be a symbol of freedom from bondage, freedom from any restriction. Now, the white stone ceremony itself comes from, basis is in Revelation, the book of Revelation in the Bible, chapter 2, verse 17, which says this: "Let anyone who has an ear to listen to what the Spirit is saying to the churches. To everyone who conquers, who overcomes, I will give some of the hidden manna, and I will give a white stone. And on the white stone is written a new name that no one knows except the one who receives it." Two really important things in that scripture: anyone and everyone. That means anyone who has an ear to hear, everyone can become a conqueror. So all of us have this ability to claim a new name, a new identity. We are all connected to God. Every single person has the power to change their life, to be more in the flow of the Spirit, and to change your heart and to change yourself at depth. So everyone can do this process. But what is essential here for those who have ears to hear, we listen. So Spirit in this process gives us a new name. We know from Bible, if you read your Bible and know anything about the Bible, when someone's name gets changed in the Bible, it signals something very profound. It signals a change in consciousness and therefore also a change in the way their life manifests. We talked about in December, I think it was November, December, about Jacob and how Jacob's name changed to Israel. Those of you may remember Paul, before Paul was Saul, but with his awakening, he became Paul. So new name, new thought, new symbol, new idea for each of you for the coming year. That is kind of what we're doing here with this. Spirit is calling us to rise up to whatever might be holding you back and for us to commit to expressing the truth of who we are. The meaning of the white stone, it's about freedom. It's about setting you up personally and emotionally to be spiritually free. The white stone is your treasure in many ways, but it's a treasure that will express your inner treasure and splendor. Before we begin the ceremony, I'm going to ask you 3 questions to keep in mind today. The first is, are you willing to listen to your inner guidance that will give you information, a theme, a name, an idea that will forward your evolution of consciousness in the coming of year? Are you ready for that? Second question, are you willing to allow yourself to experience new possibilities and new deepening of the truth of who you are? Are you ready? And are you willing to know that this year undoubtedly can be the year where your deepest desires of your heart can truly manifest? Are you ready? So I want you to take your stone in your hand. Take your stone in your hand and hold it however you like. And as you hold these stones, I invite you to think about blessing these stones. As we bless these stones, and those of you who have your paper or whatever you have at hand, believe that this is what we're doing here today. We bless these stones symbolically, representing our willingness to open up our consciousness and to align with divine spirit. We're willing to release what we need to and to open to divine transformation, to rise in consciousness and vibration and transform our lives into a wondrous, joyous expression. We bless these stones as we move into a time of meditation. So I'm going to invite our musicians to come back up so we can do our meditation here with our stones. But just close your eyes. Hold that stone. Feel maybe the coldness or the texture of the stone. Take some beautiful, deep cleansing breaths. Allow the words of that blessing of the stone to just sort of download and resonate in you. Breathe. Beautiful, deep cleansing breath. We breathe. As you're totally relaxed and resting with this beautiful Jerusalem stone in your hand, or whatever you have as your white stone and your symbol of freedom. We now close the gap to what you know to be the truth and what you expect to manifest in your life. Expect your desires to manifest. Expect manifestation. You are worth it. And God is standing by you. Spirit, the eternal, the allness, the higher power of your understanding is standing with you, in you, by you, to give you all that you need. You are open to receive. And in your mind's eye, I'm going to share a couple affirmations that you can just repeat silently to yourself. My heart is open to receive divine guidance. My heart is open to receive divine blessing. My heart is open. My heart is open. My heart is open. And so we allow the old to pass. We allow that divine identity to step forward. And as you allow that to hear, allow yourself to hear, allow that download to happen. It might be a strange word. It may be a word that even comes in a different language. Allow that word, phrase, identity, name to bless you as we move into the silence.